Welcome to Ministry in Motion, a program where we explore best practices for your ministry in the 21st century. I'm Derek Morris, and our topic today, urban ministry. Did you know that more than 1/2 of the world's population, they live in cities? And Jesus gave a command to go to every city, not only where he was about to go during his ministry, but until he comes back again. So our topic today is a very relevant one. Whether you're a pastor or a lay leader in your local congregation, God wants you to impact people in the cities in his name. Tara, I'm so happy to have you with us today. And you are a pastor in an urban setting. Tell us a little about your ministry.
So I pastor an established church, a long-time established church in the northwest corner of Philadelphia, and then a church plant in another neighborhood close by that was unreached.
And even before that, you were in Seattle, is that right?
I was.
Also in an urban setting?
Yes,
So you've spent all of your pastoral ministry in the cities.
and most of my life, actually.
Okay, so we're going to talk together. You're not only going to talk theory, but practice, because you're actually doing urban ministry. And you've given us some steps that we'd like to look at in this program for effective urban ministry. And the first is to listen to your community. How do you listen to a community?
Well, this one is really key, because if you just go ahead and try to do what we're doing, or if you apply something from one community to another context, it's not going to work the same. It depends on the people that you're meeting. So what we really did was community needs assessment. And we did this by survey. We did this door to door, one-on-one conversations. People were very open to talking, because we made it clear we're not selling anything, we're not wanting anything from you except your heart and feedback. And you know what? There are people that have lived in the community for decades, and they're ready and willing to share with you the best parts of the community and the things that need help.
Now, did you develop some kind of survey, or did you get one from, you did?
We did. There are examples out there that people can use, but we were blessed with someone who had a master's in community development. And so they targeted in our church, which was a great blessing.
Could they borrow that from you?
Definitely.
We'll talk about a web address later if they want to connect with you.
Definitely.
But you had someone on your team, and it was just a small team, that helped develop this survey. And how large of a group were you that went out to connect?
It was about 8 or 9 people that did the survey.
So we're not talking about thousands of volunteers.
Group, but they made connections with the neighbors and got a chance to hear what are those areas of need that they really saw, what are the areas where they could help to meet the need. And that was a key question that she developed on this survey, because we're seeking to build bridges and partnerships with our neighbors.
Sure.
So that it's not just us trying to meet the need, but us saying, hey, come join us while we meet this need.
You know, it's interesting that sometimes we develop a plan and then ask people to be interested in it.
Right.
What you're doing is finding the need first.
Right.
And what are some of the things that you discovered in that suburb of Philadelphia as you talked to the people?
So both are different neighborhoods in Philadelphia, and both had completely different results. I'm going to speak about the church plant area now.
What did you learn?
The neighbors really talked with us about needing education for the young people. Our educational system in Philadelphia is hurting. It has a lot of needs, and so they really need students to have some tools for academic success. They also talked about really needing a place for young people to be involved. There's a lot of violence and crime and a lot of cottage industries that are going on there that really aren't helping our young people in our area. So they really wanted to have activities for young people and ways for them to succeed academically. And our unemployment was really high, so they were talking about what kind of retooling can we give to adults in the community that would be able to help them be employable.
Now, as I'm listening to those results, I'm thinking, that is not what most churches do.
No.
So once you got all of that data, how do you kind of shape the vision? What do you do with that small band of followers, or this little church group that you have?
So at that point for the church plant, we had about 26, 27 people in our core group. We all met in our living room, and we put out all of these results. And what we started to do is pray about and talk about and brainstorm ideas for how these needs can be creatively met, how we can partner together with the community. Now, they were invited to be there, but we also were blessed in that we already had 2 members from the community that had gone through Bible studies, been baptized. So they were right from our neighborhood and were talking with us about, oh yeah, that's a great idea. You know, I grew up here. I'd love to see that. You know, so we started to brainstorm, how do we bridge these needs, these partnerships with our neighbors, and come up with something that we would be able to do that flows from that rather than apart from that.
You know, that is really crucial. I'm thinking of the story of Jesus where he reached one person, a woman, outside of Sychar, and he sends her in because she knows the community, and then they come out to want to meet him. So you've got a few people from the community who now, know the community, understand the community, the heartbeat of the community, and that helped you with the visioning process.
Yes, and they understand. I mean, we have members that are living there incarnationally now, getting to know the neighbors, but they haven't lived there as long as these members of the community that have been there. So really, it's about building those bridges in relationship with people.
Now, before we get into some things that you did, can I share a fear with you that I think many people have, and that is cities are kind of scary places. People live in very congested environments. Sometimes you see when they drive or when they talk, they're a little harsh or impatient. How do you get over the fear of ministering in an urban setting?
It depends on what your background is, if that intimidates, but definitely there were people that were nervous about that with the neighborhood that we were in. But I think what gave them courage was going together. A lot of what we did was 2 by 2. There's a model for that. What
that's
Jesus
did,
too,
right?
Right? Yeah. So that going together. If someone felt like they couldn't speak or got nervous, someone else would then fill in, and suddenly there's more confidence that grows in the person's life.
Well, I don't think it's just me, but I could see how taking someone with me, especially someone maybe who had a little more experience, would be helpful. So what was the reaction of this band that had now grown to like 20-some followers? How did they break that ice and start getting involved in ministry? How did that work for them?
Oh, we started to get excited. That was just the exciting point. We started to list out all the different ideas, and there were pages and pages at first, and then we started to pray through and prioritize and chose really 3 at that point, but we acted on a couple first. But really we chose 3 key areas that we were going to start to live out immediately and start to implement in our neighborhood.
Well, this sounds like an exciting church adventure, and after the break, we're going to be talking about some approaches that Pastor Tara VinCross and her team used to really meet the needs, rather than create interest, meet the needs that were actually there and build bridges of love and understanding with the community. It's an exciting journey, not just something that you can celebrate, but perhaps something that you can experience in your own community. We're talking about urban ministry, and we'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our topic today, urban ministry, and our special guest, Pastor Tara VinCross. Tara, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
And it's been great to start out by talking about listening to the community. And that was a real eye-opener for me, because sometimes we try to create interest. You're finding out what are the needs and then celebrating that journey of discovering them. But we want to move to the second step, which is the action step. You narrowed down to a limited, manageable number of needs. But by the way, you were doing this in 2 ways, right? Because you pastor a church in an affluent community in the city, and also a church plant, which is in quite a different neighborhood. So were you trying to do both at the same time?
We have been doing both. Urban ministry, we often think of the needs of the city immediately, and certainly there's that. But there are those who are in affluent areas, those who are wealthy, and they have need of Jesus too.
Sure.
And in our Chestnut Hill neighborhood, it's the second highest property values of Philadelphia. There's not a lot of visible need in that area, but our health and wellness ministry has really been the key. People are concerned with their health. They're concerned with having information about health, and they also want to be able to get involved. So our cooking classes and our community dinners have been key. I just was talking with someone who was at our last community dinner. We call them smart suppers. Think with your mouth full.
Wow.
And we serve them a fine dining 5 or 6 course meal. And then we have a speaker. And I was talking with him, and he said, you know what? It was right here in this room that my life changed. And I said, what happened? And he said, you know, you were showing this and talking about this, and I changed my entire diet, much to my brother's chagrin. I don't eat meat anymore, but my whole life is changing.
Wow.
And now I'm back here for this. And I just was amazed, because here's an area where some people are like, you know, you can't get in, you can't connect with them, but it was through this bridge of health and wellness that we were able to connect.
Now, step one was listening to your communities. So did you do the same community, what was it called? The
Community assessment?
Assessment, both for the upscale community and for the area of the church plant. You did both places?
Actually, they had done this prior to my arrival there in our Chestnut Hill area.
Okay, so
and
you replicated it.
Had established those, yes. It was great.
So let's talk about some approaches. What were some things besides the smart dinners?
Smart suppers.
Smart suppers, think with your mouth full?
Yes.
What else did you do in the upscale area that connected?
Vegan cooking classes, and right now raw foodists and those kind of things are very popular. And so we started offering all sorts of these specialty cooking classes, and we had large gatherings of people. And you know, the relationships that church members and myself built with people really opened up a bridge. So when they had a need, or when they wanted to connect with a church, even though many of them didn't attend church, they came to our church.
Right.
So some of them visit now, and when there's something that happens, a family member gets cancer, they come and they ask me for prayer, and we pray together. So there's a lot of meaningful relationships, but it's been largely through the health and wellness ministry at the church.
You know, I can imagine some of our viewers, some are pastors or lay leaders around the world, kind of going, aha, I think I've been disappointed. I started a program and no one came because it was not something that people in the community were interested in. You did the exact opposite. You said, what's the area of interest? And then built the team to hold the program. What about the church plant? That was a very different setting.
Sure.
You weren't doing raw food,
No.
vegan cooking schools. What was the need in the church plant?
So
area?
after listening to our community, where we responded with our vision was for a tutoring center, really meeting the academic needs for the young people in our school systems. And also urban agriculture, because we can't be the employer of, you know, we can't create jobs at this point, but we can teach people how to do something with their hands that can give them the pride to know that they can do this. So growing organic vegetables and fruit has given people a lot of great joy. So our tutoring center launched a couple semesters ago, and we've already seen a dramatic change in the ways that it's affected the students' lives. So we tutor people in mathematics and reading. Right now it's kindergarten through 10th grade. We have a vision for adult education too, because what we're finding is the parents can't tutor their own kids because they don't know how to read or don't know how to do the math themselves.
Right.
So we really long to do that adult education and technical skills so that they can be more employable in other jobs. But that's our phase 2. Right now it's K through 10th grade that we're tutoring students in.
This is so amazing. I mean, I've heard of some churches that have tutoring programs, but just coming right in there and meeting people, perhaps with things that they couldn't do for themselves.
Yes.
Reminds me, I was visiting in Kolkata, India, and they had a literacy project there in the red light district of Kolkata for the children. And I thought, wow, talk about beyond my comfort level, and yet what a real need, so those children aren't just wandering around in the red light district. So you found some needs, you met those needs. That sounds like it would be a lot of work. This is not just a program once a year. How were you able to motivate your volunteers to sacrifice so, what's the word I want to use, so intensely? I mean, this is total commitment. How did that happen?
So the third phase was, the third vision was our block party. So really this is key, because the reason we were able to stay motivated is because we had some early wins. So we listened to our community, we all knew the need, then we visioned for what that would look like. And then we had that early win of the community wanted to get together in a block party to gather the community together. And we thought, what better for the church to get people together relationally, and that would also be our launch for our tutoring program, because we could talk with people about it there.
Okay.
So we had this big block party. We invited the community to participate, and we were the initiators in the city of being able to block off this street. We had bounce houses, and the community came out and participated. We had hundreds of people there. We said, we're going to start this tutoring program. We're going to start this urban agriculture, and come and get involved. So word of mouth, it has spread, and we now have more people that we need to tutor than we have tutors. But our church has been responding so much because we were able to move through it together. I think if it's just us leaders saying, here's the vision, come do it,
yes.
That's a different process than saying, here's the need, let's pray over what meets that need. Let's do this step together, let's do this together. And going through those stages together really has kept our motivation high. Because it's us, it's not me, it's us.
After the break, I want to talk about how that has transformed the lives of the participants, and also that unique philosophy of doing for one person what you wish you could do for everyone. We're talking about urban ministry with Pastor Tara VinCross, and it's an amazing story. It's a story of creativity and vision and boldness, of sacrifice, and yet of incredible joy as we join God in what He wants to do in the city. I want to invite you to stay with us. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our topic today, urban ministry, and our guest, Pastor Tara VinCross. Tara, it's been an exciting conversation about urban ministry that's really making a difference. Now, I want to ask a question before we talk about doing for one what you wish you could do for everyone. And I want to talk about protecting your volunteers, because you've seen miracles both in your upscale Chestnut Hill location and in your church plant, which is a different community. You've seen amazing things happening. How do you protect your volunteers so they don't just collapse exhausted or burn out?
I think what's been key to us is having real, authentic community in our church volunteer network too. So a lot of times it's been sitting there and really talking with each other about, and we've used those words burnout, because especially with a church plant, and if you're trying to meet a great need,
sure,
you're facing up some really incredible challenges. So being honest with each other about, how are you doing with this? What are you giving? And are you giving what you really can? Because you can't give from emptiness. You have to give what you really can.
Right.
So having those conversations and keeping open communication and encouraging people to really give what they're able to.
I think there's a principle there that would be helpful for our viewers, and that is you don't just get together to do ministry.
Right.
You're also getting together to nurture, to have some accountability, see how you're doing.
We're viewing it like this is something that we are a part of, this mission, but our mission is building up, empowering, and discipling our volunteers, our members. Right. So if your mission is twofold, then you're going to want to care for those disciples that are working with you. So that's, for me, very crucial.
And who cares for you as the pastor?
That's a great question. An outside network of people. I have a lot of really great colleagues. And of course, elders provide support too, but the outside colleagues that are even outside of my situation really
what does your husband do to help you stay focused?
He's awesome. I have the best husband. So he's incredible support too. But outside of our community, we really feel like we have a network beyond that really supports us too.
That's wonderful and also vitally important. I want to close our conversation with a vital concept, doing for the one what you wish you could do for everyone. Someone says, I wish I could change the world, and wait for that to happen, and it never does.
Yes.
Talk to me about doing for one person what you wish you could do for everyone.
I think a lot of times in urban ministry, there's a sense of hopelessness because you look at the need and it exceeds what anyone.
Overwhelmed?
We don't feel like we have it. It's kind of like the little boy with the 5 loaves and 2 fish, before a multitude.
Sure.
We feel like that same feeling, like, what is this among so many, God? But I believe that God's really led us to do for that one what you wish you could do for everyone else. And where we see this with the tutoring center, we're only tutoring one student at a time, one volunteer tutor to one tutee, as we call them, one student.
Yes.
And what we saw in this story, this young woman, young girl, she was in 7th grade. Her parents had come to register her younger sister. They said, we're not going to register her because we feel like she's beyond help. And her teachers have given up on her. Her parents have given up on her. I really thought she had given up on her too. But the tutor that was there said, register them both. Let them both be a part of it. And she started one-on-one. We have the greatest volunteers at Reach Philadelphia. She just one-on-one worked with the student, said, you know what? I value you and God values you. Can I pray with you? And then just worked with her to build her confidence. And she went from F's to B's. And we just thought, oh, if this could happen with every kid, but we just had to remember and remind ourselves that if it's happening with her, it's going to then change her story for when she is having children or when she's interacting with other people. So if we do for the one what we wish we could do for everyone, we're going to see that transformation of God throughout our city. And it was just fantastic to watch her joy and her parents' joy and the tutors' joy, because she knew that God had used her as an instrument to build up the value and the confidence of this young girl.
And now you're sharing that with leaders around the world on Ministry in Motion. Yeah. So that ripple, that one life, has not only impacted your whole team, but it's going to impact leaders around the world by saying, I'll start with the one. Is there another story that comes to your mind that just really impacts you, the power of doing for one what you wish you could do for everyone?
So another example, because now we're starting to see that one person gets impacted and leads to another and to another. We saw this one student who's now a graduate of the university, Temple University there in Philadelphia. He started reaching out to one of his neighbors there, and that person then came and started coming to the church and found God and started being involved in ministry. She's now a tutor. She's now working in all these areas. But so she's baptized and joined the church. And then now the third level, she's now inviting a friend to come, one of her neighbors, who is now claiming this church, and just a couple days ago came up to me and was jumping up and down excited that she had just accepted Jesus into her life. So it's this, he could only see doing for that one, but then that one is now discipling another one. And now each of these people are getting actively involved in their community. So I really think this ministry of Jesus that goes one by one by one, it takes more time, it takes longer, but the results are lasting.
I think of the story of Jesus with the demoniac, where the people in that area don't even want him to stay. But Jesus says to that healed man, you go back to your people, tell them what the Lord has done for you. When he comes back the next time, there's a lot of openness.
Right.
So that's an amazing principle. Thank you for sharing that. Someone's watching, we're just about to close here, and they say, I have felt overwhelmed, like it's just so much need. What encouragement would you give to them to say, step out, get started, make a difference?
I really think until we're on the edge of what we have to offer, until we know that we have nothing to offer and that God needs to meet that need, we're not going to witness the miracles of what he does. So step out. God transforms the world through you and me. That's his promise, is that he transforms through us. He chooses to do that through his church. So even though it's hard, even though it's difficult,
do it.
Do it.
Pastor Tara VinCross, thanks for sharing, and thank you for being with us as we've been talking about urban ministry. You've been listening to A Miracle in Progress in Philadelphia, in a sophisticated upscale neighborhood and in a church plant that has many different needs, listening to the community, and then once you know what the needs are, reaching out, doing something, and reaching out to that one person in a way that you wish you could for everyone. Change the world. Take what you've learned here on Ministry in Motion, not only to bless your community, but to bless others as you reach out in Jesus' name.